So at some point in your life, you were diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. How did that come about? How did you discover that it was a problem? How did it affect you? And
So that showed up when we were in Port Elgin. I was working for my first job at the heavy water plant at the time. And I had some symptoms that showed up that very thyroid has weird symptoms. It can make you very thirsty or make you very hot very quickly, sweaty, or the opposite, cold sometimes. It would even have an effect on your emotional exposure. You would lose patience with people. You would be short with people and not be very nice person to be around sometimes. But it would come and go. And finally, it got to the point where I was just shaking, and I knew I had eaten a meal, and it wasn't that. And I could go out, I found out that I could go out and shovel my driveway in the winter with just a shirt on, not a jacket, no gloves. And I was just fine, shoveling the snow off the banks. And Narda was like shaking her head. It was freezing out there. Wind was blowing, and middle of the winter. And then so the symptoms kept coming up a bit more, and I ended up going to the hospital. It was really bad. I was shaking, and I had these high temperatures. And so I got diagnosed in one hospital, sent to Owen Sound to see another specialist. And I had what I had at the beginning a storm thyroid. They worried I'd get this storm thyroid, which I could almost die from, because it would get so out of control so quickly that it could be fatal. So they sent me quickly to see this. In fact, when I saw the specialist in Owen Sound, he put me in hospital right away, so I'd be able to get rest and IV. And in fact, they didn't even have rooms in the hospital. I spent the first 2 days in the hallway on a bed. And he connected me with a specialist in Toronto that I went to see. Dr. Volpe was his name. He was one of the leading endocrinologists in Toronto at the time. And spent 3 or 4 days there, and they finally, by this time they had diagnosed it was a thyroid problem. And finally I ended up getting a radioiodine pill that I had to take that killed my thyroid completely. And from then on, I was put on for the rest of my life. I take this one thyroid control pill to control my metabolism.
Because you don't
for
have
the rest
thyroid.
of my life. Yeah. And I've been taking that pill every day. That was back, oh my gosh, when was that?
How old were you? This is like in your 30s?
Yeah, I would have been in my mid-30s. Yeah, when that happened.
Did that affect so it was a bit of a treacherous period when you went through figuring it all out, but after it was diagnosed, other than taking the pill, did it affect you in any way?
No, the pill regulated my metabolism very well ever since.
Nice.
No problems. But I did have some encounters. I remember one day, before I got diagnosed, and I was in the midst of it, I had blown up to some people at church because I was a Sunday school president. And I showed up at church that morning for early meetings. And they announced that they were going to have some special meetings going on, and that Sunday school was going to be suspended, and they wanted to have some other meeting with the thing. And I just laced off. I said, what kind of people are you that change stuff at the last minute without any notification? If anybody where I work did something like that, they'd be fired. So I really laced into them. And felt immediately bad after I had said it, and their eyes all got big, and they all looked up around the room, and what's going on here? So yeah, a little bit of a bad situation, but that was when, the emotional part of my thyroid was having an effect, and I regret it to this day, but it happened. So maybe I'm thinking of Port Elgin. One of the callings that I received was they wanted me to become the scoutmaster. This was after I exploded at that meeting. They released me from Sunday school, and they called me as a scoutmaster.